Hey guys, this is Blake with the Three Hand Hunter channel. I'm glad that you are with me today. I know, you've seen all of the Seiko Sumo videos. You've seen them all. And I don't know if there's anything I can show you here that's gonna be new. I don't think. However, I wanna show you how cool this watch is and some of the mods that I've done to it. But I really wanna show you what a great value proposition this watch is. Especially in the world of micro brands where there's a lot of, just a lot of watches out there. Why is the Sumo a contender for you? This watch it's really exceeded my expectations. So let's talk a little bit about it and a little bit about, well, this is the SBDC033. This is also known as the Blumo. And you might notice that it's got a blue dial, blue bezel insert, and it's all blue. And I'm not a big colored watch person. I've tried them, but I figured I needed a blue watch in my collection. And what actually spurred me to make this video, because I knew there were so many out there, is I saw one of these Sumos, not the Blumo, but the regular SBDC031, the black version. I saw it go for $300, and I'm like, $300? That person got a great deal. And I want to talk why this watch is so cool and why it's so underappreciated. Now, I have to start by saying this watch is made for bigger wrists. I have a 7¼ inch wrist. I will put it on my wrist, and I think if you have maybe a 7-inch wrist, maybe a little less, it might not be for you. But if you like having a big watch, or you like having at least a big watch in your collection, why not take a look at a Sumo? And let's point out some of the distinct features of the Sumo, or in this case, the Blumo. When you're looking at the bezel, okay, and you're looking at the bezel insert, you'll notice these big, thick numerals. The latest version of the Sumo, I don't know the reference number right in front of me, but now they have the sapphire crystal. It's got smaller numbers. A lot of these features are going to be, it's personal preference. You're going to love them or hate them. I actually love the big, fat, Sumo style, I guess, bezel, because when I see a Sumo, I know it's a Sumo, right? It's an original design. This watch, look at the design of this watch. It's original. It's a modern diver. It's not a recreation. It's not a vintage style diver. This is a straight up Seiko original design, and that's what makes it so beautiful. It's got the 4 o'clock crown, which I love a 4 o'clock crown, especially on bigger watches like this Turtle. Having that crown offset to the 4 o'clock doesn't stick in your wrist, and that means a lot to me. Now look at the lugs, and look at these lugs. I owned a Omega Speedmaster, a broad arrow, and these lugs remind me of of an Omega. They're really cool, like almost curved down. Aren't they beautiful? But look at the case finishing. I don't know if it translates so well on video, but I'm hoping it does. But look at the cuts and look at the beveled edges. You go from brushed to polish to brush to polish of the undersides, and notice the relief or the cuts underneath the case. That's what makes this watch, even though it wears like a 44, 45 millimeter watch, it fits super, super comfortable as a result. Now, mine is a modded version, and I want to point that out, that this is not your average SBDC033. It does have an upgraded sapphire crystal. You can see the sapphire crystal with AR coating underneath. It's beautiful, right? And I want to tell you why I originally sought out a Sumo. First of all, I realized that the Sumo prices they're reasonable, right, for what you get. And I'm like, okay, I like it. But the reason why I actually fell in love with the Sumo is, if I can find a picture of it, I bought a modded SKX years ago, and it had a new bezel. It had like an original tuna bezel They pulled the tuna, took the shroud off, pulled off the bezel, stuck it on a SKX, and then it had a black SBDC031 dial. And I loved the dial. I love the dial. And they put the handset on the SKX as well, I believe. I have to go back and check the picture. But I love the dial. I love the applied indices. Obviously, Seiko Lumibrite, there's, something to be said for Seiko that'll glow all night long. And because I fell in love with this dial, and I fell in love with the legibility of this particular dial, and I had to have it when I got rid of that SKX, because I got past my SKX modding phase of my journey, and I wanted to go grab a Sumo because, all the watches that over the last several years, and this is being filmed in 2021, but trends have really gone back to more smaller watches. And I tend to like smaller watches. I brought some of my bigger Seikos out today. As you can see, there's an old Samurai down here, which I'll compare in just a little bit. But having smaller 40 millimeter, 39 millimeter case size watches, they're great, they're comfortable, but every once in a while I feel like wearing something bold, in your face, original, beautiful. And that's what the Sumo does for me. Every time I put it on, I feel like, boom, there it is. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful, I'm making a statement. Notice that the Seiko has a crown, a signed crown. The newest iteration of the Sumo does not, which I found really interesting. They upgraded the crystal, but they didn't sign the crown. Unless I'm wrong on that, but I don't think I am. And I want to mention, if there's anything that I say, because I know there's a lot of Sumo owners that are actually watching this video, if there's something that I miss or I say incorrectly, please jump in the comments and let me know. I'll tell you, I'm a watch enthusiast, not a watch professional. I'm an enthusiast just like you, and sometimes I'll say incorrect things, all right? So don't quote me on everything. One of the other features I love about this watch, this original design, so comfortable. But look at this Reese's peanut butter cup, I've heard it called, and it truly does look like a Reese's peanut butter cup bezel. It bulges out diagonally, and you can see that. And the bezel action is typical Seiko action, and it sounds quiet, buttery smooth, and it's easy to turn when you turn it from the 12 and 6 o'clock. Very easy, and very nice. One of the things I've also noticed about Seiko Sumos, now you guys this is where you're going to jump into the comments. I've watched a lot of videos on Seiko Sumos. This is the first Sumo and probably the only Sumo I'll ever own, but I love it, right? I love having this watch. But what I've noticed is there aren't any QC issues. Now, maybe you have seen some. Maybe it runs down a different production line than the other Seikos where the QC people maybe are just that much better. I don't know, but I haven't seen any QC issues on this one, and I don't recall seeing any videos with QC issues, at least like alignment issues. I may be wrong, maybe the chapter rings off or whatever, but mine's a great example. I'll talk a little bit about the specification. So this one runs a 6R15. So it's got the 50-hour power reserve, which is nice. It has a nice solid power reserve. It's not the 4R35, is that what it is? That runs in like the new SRPs, the Turtles, which is basically the NH35s. This has a longer power reserve. It's their little more upscale movement, but it's a quality movement, and it's been in their watches for years. It's 25 to minus 15 seconds a day. That's what that's what the specifications are. Has Lumibrite applied indices, stainless steel case, screw down crown. It is signed, 20 millimeter lug width. And I'm going to talk about the lugs here in just a second. It typically will come with a hardlex crystal. Mine, again, is upgraded. There's a couple upgrades on this watch I want to tell you I'm so happy I've done. The crystal, slightly domed, sapphire. I'm a big fan of sapphire over hardlex. That's just me. Not everybody's going to say that, but for me, I am. Stainless steel strap. Here's the original strap, and I'm going to talk, or bracelet, excuse me. I'm going to talk a little bit about that bracelet as well. Don't go anywhere with that. It is a 45mm watch. It does wear, in my opinion, like a turtle. Now here's where they get you, right? It's a 45, oops, you can see it right here, 44.8, 45mm, real close. But the lug distance, not the lug to lug, the lug distance is almost 51, okay? That's big. But notice how, and by the way, this is a 20mm lug width. So a big watch, smaller lug to lug, and that was my biggest fear when getting this watch. I'm like, okay, the head's gonna be heavy, figured it was gonna be, and it is. 20mm lug width, it's gonna wear kind of wobbly on my wrist, and it does if you have a strap that is not, is kind of a loose fitting strap. It will wobble, but you know, on a good NATO or a good rubber, Uncle Seiko rubber strap, it's gonna wear really well. And on the bracelet, it wears perfect. But that's not what I wanted to talk to you guys about. I wanted to talk to you guys about the 51mm lug distance, you know, the span of the watch. This is why if you don't have a bigger wrist, it might fit a little wide. But notice the curved down nature of those lugs. It hugs the wrist. And again, because of those cuts on the side, the reliefs over here, it makes it super, super comfortable to wear. I have to reiterate, the case finishing is amazing. You know, I heard some reviewers say it's their Zaratsu polishing. I don't think they do that on this Prospex line, but the polishing is pretty dang cool. And especially if you compare it to like, you compare it to like a turtle. And let me just compare these two different cases here, okay? And I'm gonna do a review on this turtle, don't worry. But you can see the turtle's got those reliefs, but do you notice how everything's kind of, the polish to brush is subtle? These are hard bevels. And that, when those catch the light, you can see it catch the light, it's so pretty and it's so dynamic when it's on the wrist, okay? So you can see that the two watches side by side, they look about the same, but the difference here is the shorter lug distance between, you know, not the lug to lug distance, but I guess the lug to lug and the diameter, it's gonna be shorter on a turtle. That's why a lot of people prefer the turtle. Smaller wrist can wear the turtle, but the Blumo or the Sumo, you're gonna need a little bit bigger of a wrist when you're wearing it. Now, I wanna also compare it to this is the first generation Seiko Samurai, and I'm gonna do a review on this because you guys are mistaken if you think that this is the same as the current generation. It is not. It is not. But the Samurais do wear a little taller and a little bit more proud because they don't curve in quite like the Sumo does. Okay, and that's what makes the Sumo just a really amazing watch to wear, and it's a real, truly, it's a real joy to wear. Now I'm gonna wear it on this NATO. It goes through a lot of NATOs on my wrist because it's very diverse. And but I'm gonna show you how it wears on my wrist with the NATO. But I'm not done here yet. Don't think I'm not gonna put it on a bracelet, because I'm going to, because there are some upgrades that I wanna show you, okay? So that's what it's like on my wrist. Very comfortable, especially when you have it on a NATO, puts it out just a little bit, but it doesn't dig into my wrist when I'm, you know, pushing my hand back. And you can see on a 7 1/4 inch wrist, it wears really well. If you had a smaller wrist, that 51mm lug distance might start to overpower your wrist, but overall, I think it wears great on my wrist. That's why if you have a bigger wrist, 7 inch, maybe a little bit less, but anything above that, I think the Seiko Sumo is worth looking at. Now I want to show you a couple upgrades that I did. Now I want to talk, when I'm talking upgrades, I thought long and hard when I bought this watch. I'm gonna replace the bezel insert, but this is the original aluminum bezel insert. Like I said, I love the font. I love the big fat. It's distinct, right? It's big fat numbers, makes it distinctly a Sumo. But one thing that I've, in a world of new watches, a lot of micro brands, everybody's putting their, you know, not sapphire, but you know, the inserts are like, you know, ceramic inserts, kind of like this this turtle, right? The ceramic inserts. The one thing I love about watches is having watches that actually show a little patina. And you know, aluminum bezel insert, this one's not beat up, but you know, as it ages, it's gonna get some dings and some scratches, and I don't really mind that. I don't mind the watch having some stories. And so I decided I wanted to keep the original bezel insert. But what I did add, which I thought was a really nice mod, again, this is, hopefully you find it tasteful. Even though divers don't need display case backs, there's your 6R15 in all of its glory with a Namoki case back. And that's a Namoki, and it says Sumo. I don't know where it says Sumo right there. You can see it. Let's see if I can bring it a little closer. But the 6R15, I mean, for a Seiko movement, it's not ugly. I mean, it's not gorgeous, but if you're a geek like me and you like to see the inner workings of a watch, or I like to really show it off to people if they ask, I like to take it off and say, yeah, this is what the watch looks like. And then people really find it cool. Okay. And that's one thing I want to show you. Display case back, upgraded crystal, and this is the bracelet. Now, the bracelet comes with solid end links. And a lot of people complain about the bracelet. They say, oh, you know, it's the pins, but this is a solid link bracelet. This, here, let me move this out of the way. Solid link bracelet, and it's great. The clasp was okay, but you know what I added a long time ago? This is a Marine Master clasp. For about 60, 70 US dollars, you can find sellers, especially on eBay, that will have the Marine Master clasp. It's a little thicker, but it's a really, really awesome feature to have on your Sumo. And just for, you know, if you think about all the upgrades of what I've got into the watch, you can find these watches, these Sumos, for maybe $400 on average. I saw one for sale on $300. That's why I had to make this video, because I think these are so underappreciated for the price. So you get the watch head for, let's say, $400. You upgrade the clasp for 60 or 70. Case back, crystal, you know, another 120 maybe. So you got $200. Then to add to it, you got a $650 watch. After, you know, you have a watchmaker, you know, put the crystal in, if you're not doing it yourself, and you have a really great watch. And those are prices that you're gonna find some of these micro brands, and with a really good movement and an original design and a classic design. So how could I not make a video and just show you the Sumo, or the Blumo in this case, and how special it is? I think it really is for the price. So if you like having a big watch in your collection, you should try out the Sumo. Now, again, it does make a statement. It is a little bit bigger watch. I actually really love the bracelet. I'm gonna put it on in just a second. The real drawback of the Sumo, and I'm gonna share this with you. Do you see, you know, we talked about these lugs, but look at the distance, the gap between where the spring bar is and the case, okay? That distance leaves an unsightly gap if you're putting on just, you know, some sort of rubber strap or a leather strap. It's gonna leave an unsightly gap. So you have to have a strap that has a lot of thickness here on the end. That's gonna help. Wearing it on a NATO, this is a NATO, if you love NATO bands, this is a beast, Okay, so let me go ahead and put the bracelet on so you guys can see what it looks like with the bracelet, and be right back. And here it is on the bracelet, and I'm gonna put it on my wrist now, and so you guys can see it. I actually have the extension all the way extended. Let me close that up, and this is what it looks like on the bracelet. And as you can see, it wears beautifully, right? And the nice thing about having this extension is you just pull this open and it comes off, or it opens up, it extends, very easy. Close it back up. Summertime, so I can wear it just a slightly open. And as you can see, I mean, it's thick, it's a big watch, but like I said, guys, in a world right now where all the watch heads are smaller, if you just feel like, I want to be a man today, I want to wear something big, I want to wear something bold, I feel it. Well, I don't think the Seiko Sumo is a bad choice. And you know, for all of you guys that own Sumos, I really wanted to make a video that did it justice. And I hope I did, because I think this is the most underappreciated Seiko diver original design watch out there. The prices are just very, very good. There's so many different variations now. Like the original Sumo, the SBDC033 with the you know, cursive writing, the font there, and the non-Prospex X. I know that one's a great one. It has a bit of an inferior movement, but then you got the newer versions. You got the blue coral SBDC069. That's really cool with the yellow second hand. But look at the handset, look at the dial, look at the applied indices, look at the curves. What an amazing watch. And guys, if you've made it this far, then let me introduce myself. My name is Blake. I'm a bit of a watchaholic, and if you made it this far, you might be one too. So thank you so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you like to see content like this, and thank you so much for listening in. I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for spending your time with me.